Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. On the podcast today, a musical storyteller from North Carolina who's made a name for himself, touring rigorously for the last 6 years. He's played venues large and small, and just about every place in between. He's on to share some of his new music. Will you please welcome my friend Creatio? Hi, bud. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for being on the show. I've been listening to your music. It's very, very good. I'm excited to share it with my audience here. I got to ask you, since you're a musician, what was your why for getting into music? Was there a specific time in your life that said, you know something, I think I'd like to pick up a guitar or play the piano, or what was that? When was that?
Oh, that's a loaded question, but we can start at the beginning. So for me, I always loved music. As far back as I can remember, I was always kind of drawn into music, or, it started with like the Lion King soundtrack when I was a kid, and then it progressed into like, rock bands, and I just loved the thing. I love music. I don't know. Maybe I think it's just hardwired in me, as far as it goes, but
Was mom and dad musical at all?
no, no. Well, my dad played a little guitar, but he wasn't like, great at it or anything. Um, I guess I saw him play and I kind of wanted to play too. I guess it kind of started there maybe,
Awesome.
but
Very good.
he didn't play it very much. I just
What
thought the
music,
guitar was cool.
what about musical acts that influenced you and your style?
Like my current style, I mean, I listen to a lot of different stuff for inspiration. I mean, everything from classical to jazz to pop to country to whatever. But if I had to like pick an artist that I'm like really into or really like wish I could like mirror a little bit as far as like what they're doing and how they're operating, it would be like Jason Isbell or Lost Dog Street Band or somebody like Gil Landry. And most of these guys were, independent artists that either blew up and got big or are still kind of independent artists.
We love them. That's what kind of keeps this show floating, is to help out all those independent artists and try to get them on their way as far as that goes. Your music's been described as having soulful melodies and an authentic sound, and you create such deep connections through that to your audience. How do you feel when you actually connect with your audience as far as that goes?
So it's really weird. Like from gig to gig, the room changes. I'm not, huge enough where my songs have got there before me yet. So, you kind of have to go in the place every night and win the room. So, I always start off with like, icebreaker songs, stuff that everybody knows. I might, hit them with some very familiar covers and then start peppering in my originals. And then I'll have, there's some banter in between. And even my cover songs, like I cover artists that I've like worked for as stagehands and stuff. So, or met personally, and I always kind of like tell those stories in between too. But my original stuff is very storyteller. Everything's kind of got a purpose or a reason why I wrote it. It may not necessarily be the listener's reason, but it definitely, it's something I feel.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Now, the first song we're going to feature is from your album called Passage, a song called Tyler's Song. It's a interesting song. It's got a great video to go along with it, which, by the way, all the videos will wind up being in the show notes. So we'll include that down there because I want everyone to check out all of the videos from the songs that we're going to feature today. What's the story on Tyler's Song?
So Tyler's Song is about a friend of mine. So we used to tour in a metal band together, and he was young, I was young. We were kids, and he developed a bit of a habit, and ended up in California, living on the streets and not doing too well for himself. And then he called me up one day. I was out in Illinois touring, and he calls me up one day and he's like, "Hey man, I need some help." And I flat out told him I wasn't going to send him money, because I knew, what was gonna happen. I wasn't going to like contribute to his demise. But he didn't ask me for money. He asked me if I could help him get to a rehab facility. So that's what I did. I canceled 2 shows and I drove from Illinois to San Diego, California. I picked him up, I stripped him down, I put him in my van, and he started detoxing the second day coming across the California desert into Arizona. by that night, it was crazy. I drove until the sun came up the second night, and I sat on the edge of the Grand Canyon and smoked a joint. and, and basically, like, at that point, I knew I wasn't like mentally prepared to deal with it, because it was just so, I mean, dude, it was very mentally taxing to have somebody like that riding down the highway, and being hyper aware driving, as you do anyways. And it was, yeah, it was one of them things where it's like, man, am I doing the right thing here? We made it to West Virginia, and that's, I put him in a rehab facility there, and I'm pretty sure he probably wouldn't have made it another month out in California at the time. I mean, I don't know that he's like completely clean and sober. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he's alive. He's doing well. He contacted me a couple of weeks ago and told me about some family stuff. And so I know he's alive and he's doing at least as good as he can. So
has he heard the song?
Oh yeah.
That's good. That's important. Well, this is for Tyler. It's Tyler's song. This is from our podcast guest, Creatio, on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
On a dingy San Diego street, it's just as easy as a 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna tie myself off, lay here and die. Stomping out the way I survived, I was contemplating taking that ride. It's a dancing through the desert, the devil and me. Oh, don't you know? I'm gonna ride till the break of dawn. Scream and shout, oh, won't you just let me out? Lord, I can't take no more. Oh, please, God, kill me now. It started on the Mexican line, and by Skull Valley I went blind, and I threw myself into a bed of rage. Dying West Virginia bound, Steuben's, Arizona, I was haunted by the sound of my own mind. How'd I get this way? Oh, don't you know? I'm gonna ride till the break of dawn. Scream and shout, oh, won't you just let me out? Lord, I can't take no more. Oh, please, God, kill me now.
That's today's podcast guest, Creatio, with Tyler's song. We got some more great music coming up in just a couple minutes. But I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast, heard on the World Wide Web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. If you visit our website, you'll see over 190 episodes we've got here. And we're so very glad to be able for you to go ahead and go through our archives. If you missed any along the way, you can go ahead and listen right there. According to Buzzsprout, our service that shares our podcast, all the streaming platforms, I want to say thank you so very much. We've got 2,300 cities in over 90 countries, and we'd like to spotlight a couple of them today. Golden Dale, West Virginia, College Station, Texas, one that's pretty close to Creatio's home, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Lucerne, Switzerland. The Someone You Should Know podcast, or wherever quality streaming audio is available. I want to say thanks again for listening. We're speaking with Creatio. Congratulations on the North Carolina Music Award nomination. How does it feel to receive recognition for your work?
Weird. Weird. I've never been good with like compliments or accolades. Like I kind of have a bit of an imposter syndrome, so but it's okay. I'm thankful, and I'm just very, very humbled to be able to, even be recognized for my art. So
All right, very good. And your bio says you've got a song for everyone. Can you unpack that a little bit?
yeah, so I mean, I play a lot of breweries and bar rooms and stuff like that, and kind of what happens when you're in that circuit is you kind of have to draw your audience in. So I learned that play covers, and I try to have a diverse library of music on hand to kind of pull out depending on the room. So like if I'll go in, and like I said, I kind of have to win these rooms over. We were talking a little bit before about how you kind of got to walk into a room and engage it and go, what's it going to be? Is it going to be the Killers, or is it going to be Leonard Skinner? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly. You don't
so
want
you
people
gotta
to hard play love songs, right?
yeah, well, I mean, if people, if it's not that kind of bar, you want people to have a good time. My philosophy on what I do as a musician is I'm an entertainer, and if you come to a place to relax and have a good time with your friends or your family or your loved ones, then it's my job to help you not think about the things that are stressing you out. So if you're tapping your foot, riding that wave with me, or bobbing your head, singing along with the lyrics, you're having a good time, then I'm doing my job. And that's the beautiful part about music. That's the connection thing that I was, kind of talking about.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now,
and that's ultimately, how I want to be. Like I learned a long time ago, I kind of got to take myself out of it. And it's a customer service thing,
absolutely. That's the way
So,
being a disc jockey was too, as far as that goes. You want to keep your audience, you play the music they want to hear.
yeah, give them what they want, man, and they'll give you what you want. And
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful connection. It's a symbiotic relationship. So,
And especially when you connect with the crowd, it is just, I've learned in my many, many years of being on the radio and such, when you get a lot of phone calls and such, people are listening, you're going to be on your A game. And then there was those times when you're doing the overnight shift and wondering if anyone's even out there. Would anyone care that I'm here?
Oh, I have nights like that on the road, but it's win some, lose some. I've been doing this a long time, and not every room is always going to be a great room. Not every show is going to be your best show. But if you rehearse and you practice and you work hard and you care, then you'll at least have a decent show every night, as long as you're prepared.
Very good. What's your writing process like? Do you have a specific time? Do you just, whenever the song hits, is there any particular themes or stories you like to incorporate?
I generally, like when I'm home in my office, like right now, I'm home. This is my home studio here. And when I'm off or like in between shows and I'm home, I try to spend at least, 2-3 hours a day putting time in the room, either with a guitar or, trying to find melodies or riffs or things, that spark that little lightning bolt that we call inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hits, you got to capture it. You got to demo it right then and there. And because the thing is, like when you're writing and you have this thing and you're like, oh man, this sounds good. If you don't like beat it into your brain right then, you won't remember it. So
Right.
I've made a habit to kind of like take my phone out, or put a mic in the room, or just record it, because if I like it enough to make it into a song, or it makes the cut or whatever, then I can always reference it and be like, oh, that's how I was doing that. And it's kind of building blocks,
Absolutely. And
the more blocks you got laying around, the more
keep
you
that
can
tape
do.
always rolling, because you never know when that specific lick's going to hit.
Well, some of the best songs I wrote, I think, just kind of fell out of me,
Mhm.
and then some of them took me years to write. So, there's really no rhyme or reason.
Speaking of music, we got another one coming up here. This is called Going Nowhere. The video on this one's interesting. It's shot inside an old dilapidated bus. What's the story on that?
That was in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yeah. Might have been the person that was listening. Might have been his bus.
So yeah, it's my buddy Josh. He's also a musician. He does similar to what I do. He travels around and plays music. His name's Josh Kendrick, and he's a fantastic singer, songwriter, and artist. But he also had a little photography side hustle. And I needed, I got to this point because like Tyler's song was shot on like my cell phone, like on tour throughout.
Isn't it amazing how you could do that?
And I edited it together myself. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, man, I don't want to sit here for 4 hours and 5 hours, 6 hours editing video and then, filming the video and then doing it's just a lot that goes into it and trying to make it look good. And I can get by, but like, I don't have the skills. So I wanted to kind of outsource to someone who could maybe do a little better job than I could, And it's hard to be in front of the camera and behind it at the same time. So
Absolutely. Because you're constantly nitpicking yourself, going, "Oh gosh, why did I do that? I didn't realize I did that with my hands."
Yeah. The bus was kind of an accident, and if you look at the side of the bus in the video, where the name, like where the stop plate would be, like where the bus is going to stop, little digital plate, it says "Going Nowhere" on it. Somebody spray painted that on the bus. So it was like magical. It was like we had filmed all these different things and nothing was really working out. And like we got the parking lot thing at the beginning, which was all right. And then we tried doing some street busker type stuff and that didn't really pan out. And then it started raining and Josh was like, man, I got like one more place I can think of that we can do something, like go here. And so we went there and it just worked. Awesome. It was like it was supposed to happen. So
the video will be down in the show notes. Be sure to check out the link. Here is Going Nowhere on today's Someone You Should Know podcast.
Rolling backwards, trying to teach myself to float. I'm going 15,000 miles an hour. I ain't even left my home. Framework of an empty shell, living my own personal hell while I'm going nowhere. 7 years gone by and I ain't done a thing except dance with ghosts and a cocaine nose. I wrap the truck around a tree. I ain't got no appetite. I don't see no end in sight. Well, I'm going nowhere.
Creatio right there and Going Nowhere. He's our guest this time on the Someone You Should Know podcast. That song is not necessarily not going anywhere because you can see you're going everywhere, performing all over the United States for the last 6 years. What's been some of the most memorable performances?
Oh, memorable performance. I don't know. I played some really cool stages and had some really awesome opportunities. The one that sticks out to me was it was back in the metal band days when I was playing, more ticketed events. And we played this club called Tremont Music Hall in Charlotte, which is now defunct. It's shut down and they put like apartments there. But there was over 1,000 people there that night. It was the first time that I'd ever been on a stage and I could hear the audience singing my lyrics back.
Oh, that's
to me.
nice.
And then after every song, like the roar from the crowd, like I didn't have earbuds or I didn't have in-ears back then, we used stage wedges and Yeah, it was deafening. Just like it physically hurt.
Awesome.
It was a powerful feeling, like powerful moment.
What was the name of your metal band?
That was called Skylines Always Fall.
I like it.
Yeah, that
Interesting
was
name.
a
Interesting.
long time ago.
Awesome. Very good. Now, you've got your great performances, and then there's those times where things just don't go as planned. Our next
Mhm.
feature is called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories where things didn't go quite as planned. Kind of think the movie Spinal Tap. So, my friend, I'm going to leave it to you. What would be your Tales from the Road?
Oh, you want to hear a tragedy or a comedy?
Let's give me both. Give me
I
both.
can give you a tragedy and a comedy. Oh, give me a second. So we'll go back to some metal band days. We were playing this gig in Spartanburg, for like this roller derby. It was like a fundraiser for a roller derby team that they'd hired us to come out and like do music for their event, and us and some other bands. We were just started like regionally touring. None of us had really been on the road, so we felt like rock stars, and we weren't, but it was fun, and we played a good show, and we played to people, and then after the show, the bar owner kind of locks everybody in, and we imbibe, and then we leave. And by the time we left, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. We went to Waffle House after, kind of as you do, and I don't know how it happened, but like we were sitting there. We had the whole Waffle House just rolling, dude. Like everybody was just laughing at us. We were having a great time. I mean, we were all kind of a little tipsy, and my drummer drank a whole bottle of Tabasco hot sauce. Like we dared him to down a bottle of hot sauce, and he did. He did it, and it was crazy. He went out, like he did it, and he went outside, like you could tell he visibly wasn't feeling well after that. He went outside, he puked, and he come back into Waffle House, and I guess he was drunk or something, because he was like, "Hey man, I think I just puked in you guys' drive-through." Waffle House doesn't have a drive-through, which is even better. And then we left Waffle House, and we went and got this really crappy hotel room. And it was, like I said, it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you check out of the hotel is like 11.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in there and I'm like, look, there's like 6 of us. We need a room till 11 so we can sleep and get back on the road. Like, please give us a room. Mm-hmm. The dude wouldn't do it. So I sent our manager in, and because he could sell water to a fish. That's the reason why we had him around, because he was just good at that. He's good at talking to people. So he goes in and he convinces the guy to give us a room at a discounted rate. And the deal was we had to be quiet. Mm-hmm. And like we got in the hotel room. I was trying to go to sleep because I had to drive. And we got in the hotel room, and my bandmates were just trying to just raise hell and break, whatever they could. Yeah. It was like everything short of like nailing the furniture to the ceiling. And we were in there like maybe 15 minutes, and the manager of the hotel comes and beats on the door, and my manager for the band answers the door, and he goes, "I thought I told you guys you had to be quiet." My manager looks at him and goes, "Man, I can't control these guys. They're fucking animals." And he just shut the door. And I was convinced we were going to go to jail that night. Like,
oh wow,
convinced. That's a comedy. So
all right, very good, very good. Well, that'll work. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I had heard one recently I thought was kind of funny, as far as they played their gig. They had some drinks with the owner, and then they left. And then they got a couple hours down the road, forgot to get their check.
I haven't forgot my check, but I've lost my check before.
Oh. Yeah, that's never good. That's never good. Yep.
Well, no, thankfully the venue was cool about it, but yeah.
Very good. What's on the horizon for the remainder of 2024?
Touring, lots of touring. I'm technically on tour right now.
So I think the best thing we should do is just find out where you are. You've got a website. Let's talk about your website and your socials.
That would be www.creatioband.com. Yeah, you can get to all my socials from there: YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Like, it's all there. All roads lead to the website. So if you just go there and click on what you want to click on, I got merchandise, I got songs, I got a whole album you can listen to for free. You don't have to pay for anything or listen to commercials. If you don't want to, you can just go there and stream it.
Awesome. Very good. Very good.
I got my tour calendars there, of course.
We'll include the link to all your socials down in our show notes as well. And we're going to wrap up the show with your most recent song called Evergreen. What's the backstory on Evergreen?
That was kind of another one of those songs that just fell out of me one day. I was playing an A minor chord, and I was just like, oh, this is cool. This is kind of a bop. This little dun, 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 dun. And I was like, hey, man, it would be cool to write like an outlaw kind of song or something. So, because it had that vibe, and it kind of just happened. It was an accident. I demoed it out on my cell phone. Mm-hmm. I was in school and recording school, and I took it. We actually went into the studio to do a cover of Bad Bad Leroy Brown by Jim Croce. Uh-huh. We had like 3 or 4 hours of time after we tracked that, and the band that I was using was like, hey, do you want to just do one of your songs since we got all this time? It was like, sure. And we cut the drums that day. We got a good drum and a good bass track that day. And then I had to do a couple projects for, my final semester. And I just kind of built off of that. And
wonderful.
And took that into the studio. I mixed it and basically produced it myself. My buddy Matt Stretz from Matt Stretz Productions mastered it. I had a wonderful studio band. Some really good friends of mine helped me out, and they're just all amazing players in it. I actually got to mic up a live cello, and that was really cool.
Awesome,
so.
Very good, very good. And the video that goes along with it, quite interesting. Can you tell us about that?
So the Moonrunners shot that. You can find them on Facebook. I got some links on my social if you're interested, or if anybody wants video work done in North Carolina, for sure hit them up because they are awesome. I basically showed the video team the song, and I kind of told them this is kind of what I got going on in my head. I didn't really have like a whole like when I approached them, I didn't really have like an entire storyboard or anything. Mm-hmm. But I was like, this is kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like running through an evergreen forest on the run, like mm-hmm. Maybe I'm trying to get home, maybe I'm running away from the law, maybe both, you know what I mean? But yeah, I wanted it to be kind of a story kind of video because I'd never done something like that, more conceptual. And I think it, the story itself of the song, I think everybody's kind of felt like that at some point in their life. Like maybe they've done something they're not proud of, or maybe they've
you feel like the past is going to come back and bite you, right? Yeah,
or whatever. I mean, like we're humans. We all make mistakes, and I think one of the things we fear the most as humans is other people's judgment, or things of that nature. So I think that's a kind of the place I wrote it from.
Awesome. Very good. Well, I'm going to close the show with that song, and I want to say thanks so much for being a part of the podcast, man. Thanks for taking time from your tour to sit down with us and tell us about your music. And I invite people to look for Creatio, who's on the road and touring. If he's coming to a city near you, take the time and support great music. Thanks for being my podcast guest, buddy. Do appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
I can hear them coming over the hill, yeah, they're gonna hang me high. And my worst fear ain't them hounds I hear, it's the way you sleep at night. Spend all your time down on your knees, praying to the Holy Ghost. So say a prayer for the ones I love, cause they're the ones that's gonna hurt the most. And I can't seem to ever glean that evergreen thing that binds our souls. There's got to be some good in me, but I can't see this blindfold's got no hope. And tragedy is what I bring, it's the only thing that I have ever known. I ain't ever coming home. I can see them coming up on the ridge, yeah, they're gonna shoot me down. And if I am a lucky man, then I ain't ever gonna hear the sound. Pay my bins to the ferryman across the river Styx. Cause the blood I've spilled that's on my hands, yeah, I can't never fix. And I can't seem to ever glean that evergreen thing that binds our souls. There's got to be some good in me, but I can't see. This blindfold's got no homes. Tragedy is what I bring. It's the only thing that I have ever known. Got to be some good in me, but I can't see. This blindfold's got no homes. Tragedy is what I bring. It's the only thing that I have ever known. I ain't ever coming home.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for listening to this episode of Someone You Should Know. Now, if you're an aspiring musician or an established musician that's looking for a little exposure, I invite you to drop us a line at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. That's someoneyoushouldknowpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I invite you to tell a friend about the Someone You Should Know podcast. I thank you for tuning in this time, and I invite you to check us out next time on the Someone You Should Know podcast, because you never know who's going to show up. Until next time, remember, God loves you, and so do I.